The war for the presidency is far from over. And while it seems that Donald Trump is on the ropes, things are moving along and we don't know exactly where it will end up. But boy, is the mainstream media desperate to convince you Trump cannot win. It's over. Submit. Why won't you submit? Well, the GOP just won a lawsuit. And this is really good news for Republicans. Several thousand ballots in Pennsylvania that were not dated are being thrown out. Of course, the left has been running around claiming that Trump is 2-31 with 2 wins and 31 defeats. Although Trump's campaign actually hasn't filed most of these lawsuits. I believe they only have like 3 lawsuits. That's what Rudy Giuliani said. Most of these other lawsuits are brought about by members of the Republican Party in various areas and voters. It's kind of stupid to be like Trump lost a lawsuit because some random guy filed a bunk lawsuit. No, but this is good news. Now, the left is saying that this win in Pennsylvania is irrelevant. It's only a few thousand ballots. It won't change the results of the election. And you know what? They're probably right. Well, this could have some effect on other counties. Maybe more ballots get thrown out somewhere else because they say, OK, we got this ruling, right? And we're going to go look at a bunch of other ballots. I don't know if it's really going to have an impact. Theoretically, it could, because Joe Biden's lead in Pennsylvania is decently high, but I think it's like 40 to 60,000 or something like that. So if they were to get 2,000 to 3,000 ballots thrown out across the board, or even in a heavy Democrat district, it could have an impact. So maybe a ruling like this could affect Pennsylvania or Philadelphia or something. They're in Pennsylvania. I'm not entirely convinced it matters, though. I don't believe that Trump's strategy right now is predicated upon these lawsuits. I think Trump is going for a contingent election victory where House delegations vote. We've heard over and over again about release the Kraken and where's the evidence. And now there's this feud between Tucker Carlson and Sidney Powell, a kind of feud. Tucker Carlson on his show the other night said that they reached out to Sidney Powell, Trump's lawyer, saying, can you show us evidence? Tucker then accused Sidney Powell of not producing any and then saying, stop contacting me. It's really strange. In response to this, a bunch of Trump supporters, like the most diehard, said that Tucker Carlson turned his back on Trump and the MAGA movement or whatever. He's siding with the deep state and things like that. According to Sidney Powell, she offered Tucker Carlson expert analysis on the mathematical anomalies and a sworn affidavit, which apparently wasn't enough. Now, there you go. I don't know exactly what the play is or what the plan is, but it seems like Trump is going for a contingent election victory. And, well, whether or not there's hard evidence of fraud, I don't know if that actually matters anyway. Not that I think Tucker Carlson is necessarily right, because if, Rudy Giuliani mentioned one of his sworn affidavits, we've seen many sworn affidavits. We've got many coming out of Georgia. I find it strange that, Tucker would frame it that way when he could have just said they're not producing evidence because they want it to appear in a court of law. Anyway, what I find particularly interesting now, Trump summons Michigan GOP leaders for extraordinary meeting. Of course, the left is saying he's trying to pressure them into some kind of non-certification of the Michigan results or something like this. And Snopes, I love you, says, could Trump defy popular vote by halting voter certification? Mixture. They actually say it's not true. They're wrong. There's a bunch of ways Trump could jam the political process. What the left is now saying is that, and this is crazy to me, I was reading a CNN article, I don't have it pulled up, but they were like, Biden has been declared the winner. And no, he hasn't. And they were like, it's just a formality. It's ceremonial that we go through the electoral college process. No, it isn't. It is not ceremonial. That's why we don't have a popular vote. It is actually the legal process. If the electoral college was ceremonial, we would just do a national popular vote and then say the electoral college agrees. They want that, but we're not there. If the National Popular Vote Coalition actually succeeds, if you're not familiar with this, basically a bunch of states are trying to say, if at any point our coalition reaches 270 votes, once their coalition reaches 270, enough to get the president the victory, they'll give their electoral votes to whoever has the popular vote, securing that victory, overriding or bypassing the Constitution. Sure, in that instance, then the electoral college would be ceremonial. Right now, it's not. But they are so desperate to claim Trump can't win. And it freaks me out because they should be saying, while Trump can win, it seems like a long shot, and y'all better be prepared for the event he pulls something off. Could you imagine what's going to happen to these people when they're being told every day nonstop Trump can't win, and he can? That's crazy. But let's read what's going on. I'll go through this stuff. We've got the GOP winning this order, and this is significant, but I don't know if it's enough to change anything. 21 NBC says more than 2,000 mail-in ballots cannot be counted in a Western Pennsylvania state Senate race. An appeals court ruled Thursday, saying handwritten dates provide a measure of security. The 2-1 Commonwealth Court decision could swing the neck-and-neck contest in which Republican challenger Nicole Ziccarelli trails narrowly against Senator Jim Brewster of Allegheny. Judge Kevin Brobson, a Republican, said to ignore the requirement that mail-in voters date the outside of return envelopes would constitute a judicial rewrite of the statute. In a dissent, the panel's lone Democrat, Judge Michael Wojcik, said a blank or even simply unsigned declaration on the outer envelope would be disqualifying, but that ballots are time-stamped. I view the requirement of a voter-inserted date on the declaration as similar to the issue of color ink that is used to fill in the ballot, Wojcik wrote. The case was sent back to Allegheny County. So for the most part, this is about a state race. But if the court is ruling as such, the Trump campaign could seize upon something like this. But again, I got to say, people are highlighting this saying, victory, woohoo. And it's kind of like, does this really matter that much? It kind of does if Trump is going to a contingent election. Check this out. They say the state Senate is days from the end of its current term, with Republicans holding a 28-21 majority, along with an independent who caucuses with the GOP. A Ziccarelli win would give Republicans a 30-20 working majority in January. So Pennsylvania is already basically a Republican state, which means if it goes to a contingent election, this probably won't have that big of an impact. I'm seeing a lot of people sharing this, talking about how it's a big victory, a GOP win. I'm not sure it matters. I mean, it matters for people in the state, obviously, but does it matter for Donald Trump? This is what the narrative currently is. Trump is trying to overturn the results of the election by lobbying state legislators to not certify or to appoint electors that will favor Donald Trump, vote for Donald Trump. The AP says President Donald Trump summoned Michigan Republican legislative leaders to the White House for an extraordinary meeting Friday amid a long-shot GOP push to subvert the democratic process that handed the battleground state to Democrat Joe Biden. We are not a democracy. It may, to be fair, subvert the democratic process. I see what they're saying. But the process that's actually laid forth in the Constitution and in our country allows for Trump to do this. It's not illegal. That literally you can. They say two people familiar with the matter told the Associated Press that Trump invited Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey and House Speaker Lee Chatfield. They agreed to go, according to a state official aware of the leader's plans. The two officials spoke on the condition of anonymity because they were discussing private conversations. I don't know if I actually believe these claims about anonymous officials, but it does seem like, Trump, it's probably going to happen. The question is, can these guys do anything? I'm not convinced it matters. The left is trying to make it seem like this is grand conspiracy. And my question is, are these guys in a position of power to actually do anything? I don't really think they are. Maybe they could then come back to Michigan and lobby the certification, the board of canvassers, the state board, who would certify the results and send the electors. Trump could jam up the process in many different steps. They say it was not immediately clear what the meeting would be about. Neither Shirkey nor Chatfield commented. Trump's campaign is openly floating the notion of trying to get friendly state legislatures to appoint electors who would overturn the will of the voters. If Trump succeeds in convincing Michigan State Board of Canvassers to not certify Biden's victory in the state lawmakers could be called on to select electors. But such a brazen move would be unprecedented and possibly illegal. It would be certain to draw a swift legal challenge. Sure, and it might go to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court might say, the states ultimately decide. If Michigan's Republicans want to do it, what you going to do about it? Maybe that's why Amy Coney Barrett was confirmed as quickly as she was. I'm just saying. Both Shirkey and Chatfield have indicated that they will not try to overturn Biden's win. Quote, Michigan law does not include a provision for the legislature to directly select electors or to award electors to anyone other than the person who received the most votes, Shirkey's spokeswoman said last week. On November 6th, Chatfield tweeted, whoever gets the most votes will win Michigan, period. End of story. Then we move on. The only issue? What happens if Michigan doesn't certify? Then nobody got any votes. They'll say, but we know Joe Biden got the most votes. And they'll say, no, we didn't certify. We don't know if these numbers are legitimate. So nobody did. So what do? There's no will of the people. Then they'll have to appoint electors. Asked at a Lansing news conference about the plan for legislative leaders to visit Trump, Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer said, I hope they wear masks and I hope they stay safe. All the meetings in the world, though, can't take away from the fact that Joe Biden won Michigan by over 150,000 votes. That's 14 times the margin that Donald Trump won by in 2016. So we will be sending a slate of electors that reflects the will of the people of Michigan at the end of this process. I'll tell you what's scary. They've not certified those results. But the media keeps saying they did. So you're going to have a ton of people who believe these are the numbers when none of us have actually seen official certified documentation of any of this. In which case, what if the media is lying? What if the results these numbers are not correct? What if CNN just said, hey, 150,000 for Biden? And then we all just go, okay. That's why we need certification from the actual governments of these states. Otherwise, I think what the media is doing is extremely dangerous. Donald Trump is within his legal right to be doing what he's doing. They're saying it might be illegal. Maybe you could make an argument about him not having, influence or something like that. But Trump's allowed to challenge the process. He's allowed to file legal challenges, and it might end up with no certification. That's in the Constitution. It's how things work. Of course, I think the left would then use it as an argument against the Constitution, which some have already said they want to get rid of. They say Thursday, state officials said Michigan's largest county cannot revoke its certification of election results after two Republicans who approved Biden's local landslide wanted to revert to their initial stance of refusing to bless the vote tally. The GOP effort to change position represented another complication in what is typically a routine task. Monica Palmer and William Hartman, two GOP canvassers in Wayne County, said they only voted to certify the results after hours of sustained pressure and after getting promises that their concerns about the election would be investigated. According to Crowder, and I haven't seen his full argument, there's like 170 or something thousand people who voted in Wayne County that don't have a matching voter registration. I haven't looked into it, so definitely fact check me on that one. But there are certainly reasons why these GOP members didn't want to certify the results. And it's very strange. The Democrats are saying, okay, you initially voted not to, but then you voted to, therefore we're done. Nothing. No takesies, backsies. Okay, I'll say this. I say no takesies, backsies on the first vote. If there is no legal process by which they can rescind their second vote, then what legal process is there by which they rescinded their first vote? Right? Sure. So this might actually end up in a legal challenge. But let's jump over to good old Snopes, because we love Snopes for fact checking. I'm kidding, by the way. Snopes is awful. In a story, in a fact check, they wrote, could Trump defy popular vote by halting voter certification? Here's why the country is focusing on the unusually mundane certification process in key battleground states. I'm sorry, the usually mundane. Usually mundane because the media glosses over it and we just ignore it. But that doesn't mean we are allowed to. It exists. Sorry, that's a fact. They say this. As of mid-November, several battleground states had not certified results of the popular vote in the 2020 presidential race, which meant U.S. President Donald Trump had an opportunity to defy the election's outcome. Mixture. They say it is true they haven't certified all the races. What's false? It was a false interpretation of the Constitution, federal statutes, and state laws that govern elections to consider the process of certifying results of the popular vote an opportunity to defy what voters want. What's undetermined? While the Trump campaign was attempting to halt or slow down voter certification in several battleground states, the success of those efforts to overturn Biden's victory was unknown as of this writing. The overturned Biden's victory. Wait. Hold on. Is it true or not? Can it actually overturn the results as they stand? Could it result in Donald Trump getting the Electoral College? The answer is, of course, yes. Yes, it was the co-founder of MSNBC who wrote about this, and there were tons of articles written about it. And we've now seen several high-profile pundits, The Atlantic, NBC, and Vox, all say Trump could pull off what's called a contingent election victory. Snopes, do a Google search. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. They say in mid-November, blah, blah, blah. It was misleading. The claim was two-pronged. Key battleground states had not certified the results of the popular vote, and because of that, Trump had a chance to defy its outcome. It's both of which are true. They say, first, let's define what step in the country's election process, which functions under the Constitution, statutes, and laws, to which the campaign was referring. Every 4 years in America, people submit ballots in a popular vote for the president. Most states grant counties the authority to administer those elections via a board of electors, an election official or officials or both. Those local jurisdictions operate under varying timelines for processing votes, blah, blah, blah. Come on. In the Trump-Biden contest, the news media did not announce a winner in several states until days after the polls closed. in part due to an unprecedented surge in mail-in voting and states' varying rules for when they can start processing those ballots. This we know. On November 7th, however, Biden secured the majority of the country's electoral votes. No, he didn't. That's not how it works. And was announced the 46th president of the United States. Isn't it weird that they're saying all these things? On the 7th, the media projected Joe Biden to be the winner. Projected. They didn't declare him the winner. That's not how things work. They are trying so freakishly hard. It's very weird. They say historically, it is at this point in the election process when ballots haven't been certified at the county or state level that a losing candidate concedes defeat. That acknowledgement, while not constitutionally required, has come to represent a losing candidate's willingness to help the winner transition into the White House. It also serves to help the losing candidate's supporters accept the election's outcome. Cue the above-mentioned claim. They say, under state and federal laws, the process of cementing voter tallies continues regardless of a candidate's acceptance of the popular vote. First, and it's not the popular vote, it's state level. Be specific, man. These people are awful. First, local election boards certify ballots at a precinct level. After that, state executive authorities seal states' results via a certification of ascertainment, a document that lists the names of the state's chosen electors who will cast official votes for president through the Electoral College. Deadlines for completing certifications vary by state. Georgia is the 20th today. Pennsylvania, the 23rd. Michigan, the 23rd. Nevada, the 24th. Arizona, the 30th. Wisconsin, December 1st. Once completed, governors submit their certificate of ascertainment to the U.S. Archivist. The electors listed on the document then meet at state capitals to formally cast their votes for president and vice president on the Monday after the second Wednesday in December, per guidelines outlined in the Constitution in 2020. That's December 14th. In other words, it was accurate to state as of mid-November, several battleground states had not certified results of the popular vote, including Georgia. However, less clear was whether that fact meant Trump had a chance to overturn Biden's victory via lawsuits and campaign messages to supporters, like the above displayed fundraising email. The Trump campaign was trying to convince Americans that governments should hold off on certifying ballots because of widespread voter fraud tainted the numbers, even though no evidence showed that was true. I will say this. We do not have evidence of widespread voter fraud. And they keep saying widespread. There is evidence of voter fraud, and it's such as sworn affidavits. It's not definitive proof. It's circumstantial evidence. There are strange mathematical anomalies. And we do have now from the Voter Integrity Fund evidence of widespread voter irregularity. Very serious differences between that and widespread voter fraud. The implication that fraud would be intent, that someone actually planned it. And as we heard from Rudy Giuliani, there seems to be a central, a plan of some sort. Is it something like that? I don't believe that. As of right now, I tell you this. Show me the evidence. If you're going to release the Kraken, apparently they already did. I'm not seeing it. So I do not agree with the president in that regard. I do agree, however, that there's clearly evidence of fraud and irregularities that need to be investigated, period. That's a fact. It's crazy to me that there's even media saying there's no evidence at all. There quite literally is evidence. We have probably hundreds of people now who have signed sworn statements saying this doesn't add up. You've got poll watchers and you've got people who submitted ballots and then the state never received them. That's an irregularity. Widespread irregularities have been found. Yet we keep saying no evidence. They do this trick. The media says no evidence of substantial voter fraud that would affect the outcome of the election. Yes, that's true. That's 100% true. There is no evidence of substantial voter fraud that would affect the outcome of the election. That's because we are hearing the smoke alarm going off and we've yet to go and look to see if there's a fire. The problem for me is there's no middle ground here. The way the media is defining this is either you believe there's fraud or you believe there isn't. And if you believe there's fraud, then you're a crazy conspiracy theorist and there's no fraud, so you're nuts. There's actually evidence of fraud and it doesn't necessarily mean Trump should win. Yeah, there's no middle ground anymore. The bifurcation is upon us. They go on to say that it's not clear if Trump has a chance to overturn the results. But let me tell you this. If the governors have to submit their certificate of ascertainment, then there are multiple more paths. How about this one? Ducey defends legal challenges to Arizona election results by Trump backers. The governor of Arizona said he won't accept the election results until all lawsuits are settled, which means they could certify and then the governor holds the packet and doesn't turn it over to the federal government and says, we are currently facing a legal challenge. And thus, I'm not going to just hand this off because we haven't resolved these. And you know what? It may be political. It's a good point. If you've got a legal challenge going through the courts, you can't just ignore that and then send in the results. There is a deadline, however. So if at a certain point they said to Trump, you're past the deadline, we're certifying, we're moving forward, I would understand that. And of course, you're going to see Gretchen Whitmer. She's going to shovel those things so fast. As soon as she gets the certificate of ascertainment, she's going to overnight it, high speed. But the governor of Arizona won't. And that means Joe Biden is potentially going to be losing out on some electoral votes. I believe that, do they have the number here? I don't know. I think Arizona is 11, I think. So it's not enough to take away, based on the projections, Joe Biden's projected win. We don't know how much he'll end up with. But if Arizona, frozen, if the Michigan state board won't certify, because this is what people are talking about. The state board now has to certify the results of the state. And two of the people it's two Republicans and two Democrats. That's my understanding. So maybe they don't certify. And then then Gretchen Whitmer complains and then they can't do anything and they break the deadline. And then two states are out. And then maybe there's Pennsylvania. But Trump needs to get 3 states not to be able to certify. And then what happens, and Alan Dershowitz has talked about this, is that Joe Biden won't have 270. Snopes, it's not a mixture. It's true. It doesn't mean it's likely to succeed, but it's possible. I don't know exactly how, if or how Trump is going to be able to pull it off. But I will say, evidence exists. And the fact that Democrats are saying, ignore this, and the fact that the media is saying, don't look behind the curtain, is really pissing me off. If they really wanted to solve this problem, they would say, Trump is claiming widespread voter fraud. Fine. Hand recount every single one of these. Instead, they are running as fast as possible and hiding. That's not a good sign, is it? If Joe Biden actually thought he won, he'd say, look, do your recounts. Don't care. Do them. Fine. Whatever. I'm going to be prepared to become president because I know I won. Instead, the media rushes out and said, he won. He won, everybody. Ignore the Constitution. He won. He didn't. They're saying he's been declared the winner. He's not been. The media doesn't have the official capacity to make these declarations. This is where it gets freaky, because what if Trump actually ends up figuring it out? Well, this GOP win is probably minor. The bigger question is Trump's strategy, but I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.